In the heart of ancient Rome, where power was synonymous with grandeur, decadence, and cruelty, there was one emperor who defied convention: Nero, the last ruler of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. His reign is remembered as one of excess, art, and unrestrained ambition. Nero, a man of many faces, was both a patron of the arts and a tyrant feared by his people, and his legacy would be one of Rome's most controversial. Nero began his rule as a mere teenager, crowned emperor at just 16 years old. Thrust into a position of unimaginable power, he was, from the start, heavily influenced by his mother, Agrippina, a woman as ambitious as she was calculating. It was Agrippina who had carefully orchestrated Nero's ascent to the throne, even marrying her uncle, Emperor Claudius, and convincing him to adopt Nero as his heir over his own son. When Emperor Claudius died under mysterious circumstances, whispers filled the halls of Rome, carrying rumors of a sinister plot. Claudius, who had ruled with surprising stability, was suddenly struck ill after a grand banquet. The official reports claimed it was a stroke or a natural illness, but in private, the Senate and citizens alike muttered a darker tale. Poison. The poison, they said, was delivered through a plate of his favorite mushrooms, or perhaps it was a poisoned feather slipped into his mouth by his physician. The truth remained unclear, but the suspicion fell heavily on one figure: Agrippina, his ambitious wife. Many believed she had orchestrated his death to ensure her son Nero's rise to power. Agrippina was ready. She envisioned a reign in which Nero would be emperor in title, but she would wield true control from the shadows. Agrippina's ambitions were relentless. She inserted herself into the highest affairs of the empire, sitting beside Nero at official meetings, even demanding to be treated with honors reserved only for the emperor himself. She pushed for policies, issued decrees, and managed his relationships, expecting her son to obey without question. To Rome, Nero may have been the ruler, but to Agrippina, he was simply a puppet on her string, a vessel for her insatiable desire for power. As Nero grew older, however, so did his resentment. The seeds of rebellion were planted in his mind as he began to chafe under Agrippina's relentless control. He found solace and counsel in the people she despised, distancing himself and carving out an identity that was entirely his own. His mother's ambitions, which once seemed protective, now felt like chains, shackling him to her schemes. Their bond began to unravel, and a struggle for dominance ensued, one that would shake the empire to its core. Their conflict turned into a bitter power play. Agrippina grew desperate to maintain her hold over him, even threatening to elevate Britannicus, the rightful son of Claudius, as a counter to Nero's rule. But Nero, now fully aware of his power, would not be threatened. It became clear that there was no room for both of them on the throne, and Nero began plotting the unthinkable. In a shocking twist of fate, Nero ordered his own mother's assassination, unable to bear her influence any longer. His first attempt to kill her was an elaborate plot, an engineered shipwreck meant to make her death appear accidental. But Agrippina, ever resourceful, survived. This failed attempt only fueled Nero's resolve, and he sent soldiers to her villa to finish the job. Her death marked a dark turning point for Nero, a chilling foreshadowing of the ruthlessness that would define his reign. Free from Agrippina's influence, Nero embraced his own desires, plunging headlong into a life of extravagance and indulgence. He saw himself as a patron of the arts, a lover of music and theater, and even fancied himself a performer. Nero shocked the aristocracy by appearing on stage, singing and competing in public games, acts seen as unfit for an emperor, yet Nero's passion for the arts overshadowed the dignity of the imperial office. But while Nero sought the glory of an artist, his empire suffered. In 64 AD, disaster struck. A fire broke out in the densely packed heart of Rome. Flames spread quickly, fueled by the narrow streets and wooden structures engulfing temples, homes, and markets. For 6 days and nights, the city burned as the people of Rome fled, helpless against the inferno that consumed their lives. The Great Fire of Rome was more than a catastrophe. It was a defining moment in Nero's rule, one that would shroud his legacy in suspicion and betrayal. As the fire raged, Nero was absent, said to be staying at his palace in Antium. When he returned, many looked to their emperor for comfort and aid, but instead, rumors began to spread that Nero himself had orchestrated the blaze. Whispers claimed he wanted to clear land for a grand vision, the Domus Aurea, his golden house. This palace, it was said, would be more opulent than anything Rome had ever seen, filled with gardens, shimmering fountains, and rooms adorned in marble and gold. Some even believed that Nero had played his lyre as Rome burned, an image of the emperor reveling in the destruction of his own city. Whether true or not, this image would forever haunt his reputation, symbolizing an emperor detached from the suffering of his people, obsessed with his own ambitions. In the aftermath, Nero's response only deepened the public's mistrust. He seized large portions of the land cleared by the fire to build his lavish palace, a display of wealth and extravagance that felt like a mockery to the many who had lost everything. To deflect suspicion, Nero blamed the fire on a new religious group, the Christians. This marked the beginning of one of Rome's first persecutions of Christians, a ruthless campaign that would see countless innocent lives taken, a desperate attempt to salvage his own image. But this brutality only further alienated the Roman people, and whispers of rebellion grew louder. As his reign continued, Nero's paranoia deepened. He turned against friends, advisors, even members of his own family, executing anyone he suspected of disloyalty. Fear became the currency of his rule, and the Senate and elite trembled under the weight of his wrath. Yet beneath the cruelty, Nero still yearned for admiration, not as a ruler but as a legend, a figure whose fame would outshine even that of his ancestors. But Nero's unchecked ambition and reckless spending drained Rome's resources, and the empire's patience finally ran out. In 68 AD, a rebellion erupted, led by the military and backed by the Senate. Nero's allies abandoned him, and he found himself utterly alone. Fleeing the palace, he took refuge in a humble villa, realizing that his empire, his ambitions, and his legacy were slipping away. In his final moments, with no other options left, Nero chose to take his own life, famously uttering, "What an artist dies in me." With these last words, Nero's reign ended in tragedy, his dream of eternal fame twisted into infamy. Rome moved on, but Nero's memory lingered, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power, ego, and the insatiable desire for adoration.